I know that the Electric Horseman had script problems. I think that the fact that much as you mentioned earlier, the fact that your relationship with Redford, you were able to bring out a lot of that kind of
Electric Horseman, I literally
trait.
ended up writing half of every night before we would shoot. We make jokes now about my saying, let's pick the longest location because I'll have time to write the scene by the time we get there. And that's literally true. There are yellow pads all over the place. We're riding out to work in the morning. I would do the scene. Poor Jane would come back, and we shut down Christmas for 2 weeks, and she came back and she said, everybody's asking me how's this thing going to end? And I keep saying, I don't know. She said, am I going to stay with him, or am I not going to stay with him, or what's going to happen? We didn't even, none of us knew.
Just like Casablanca.
Yeah, right, right.
Well, that's, I think, responsible for a lot of the spontaneity of the thing.
Yeah, we really didn't know. I mean, that was a film that was sort of made day by day, in a way. It really was. That was something Redford and I got ourselves in real trouble. We had wanted to make another film called A Place to Come To, and we couldn't get it made. We had to abandon it. We had a crew hired, everybody hired, so we were under the gun. We had to take a film. That was a project that Ray Stark owned, was laying around. We grabbed it and then realized that we had to do an awful lot of fixing, and we had to start. So we were in the middle of it before we had 20 pages.
Are you still going to get to make that film?
I don't know whether we will or not, because it's expensive. Bob's getting on now. I'm getting on. It's a tough film. I love it. It's a film I wish we would have made. So does Bob. Maybe that was the biggest mistake the two of us have ever made, is not to make it. Maybe we'll make it one day.
We're not rolling, are we?
Yeah, still.
Okay. On Absence of Malice, how did you come to make that picture?
That was a screenplay that my agents sent me. It was as simple as that. I had met the guy, Kurt Ludke. It was his first screenplay. I'd met him because a friend of his worked for me, as a matter of fact, and brought him over while he was writing it for Orion Pictures. Orion and George Roy Hill, as a matter of fact. When Orion passed on it, I thought it was interesting. I didn't think it worked as a screenplay in its first form, and Kurt and I worked very hard together, and again we brought David Raphael in to work with us, and finally got a viable screenplay. That was another screenplay that not everybody wanted to make. I first sent it to Warner Brothers, and they did not want to make it.
Wonderfully received film, too.
Yes, it was very well received, and it did very well commercially, considering its relative seriousness.
Can you talk briefly about Tootsie?
Tootsie is a comedy, a contemporary comedy about a man who can't find work as a male actor, so gets work as a female actor. And then it becomes a comedy of errors. He falls in love with his leading lady, who thinks he's her best girlfriend. Her father falls in love with him. He leads a double life. I hope, like any good film, that it's more than just a comedy. I hope it's eventually about a man who learns to be a better man for having been a woman, in a way. And I hope even more than that, that maybe it's about the fact that the real cement of a relationship is friendship, and that's independent of sexuality sometimes. I mean, what does happen between these two people who eventually we hope will become lovers is that they become best girlfriends first. And as he says at the end of the picture, look, the hard part's over, we're friends already. Most men and women have some sort of adversary relationship in one form or another going, even when they're quite close. And so it's a way to explore some of those ideas and hopefully still be entertaining. It's a more overt, broad comedy than I've ever done before, and that's really one of the reasons that I wanted to do it.
You're wearing two hats in that, as director and actor.
Excuse me, I'm changing the last tape.
Okay.